So the Nintendo Switch 2 has been officially revealed now for 24 plus hours, and I wanted to go over some of the reaction and some of the stuff that I've been seeing across the interwebs comments, in addition to responding and just looking overall about the reception that it's gotten, kind of gauging exactly how popular or not this could be when it drops. Now, the thing about the Nintendo Switch 2 is, guys, is that this system obviously is a sequel to one of the best-selling systems of all time. The hype and anticipation was definitely unreal. So you're going to get a lot of mixed emotions from people expecting certain things or not, or surprised or not, people that looked at leaks or not, or said that, hey, it's not necessarily brand new or this and that. It's going to be all over the place compared to back in the Nintendo Switch 1 era, where there was way less people on the internet and so many other things. So I wanted to kind of go over some of that and get into some insight on what's actually happening here, because I got some stats and numbers that I think you guys are going to be blown away by. We're going to talk about some other stuff with the Nintendo Switch 2 as well that's very, very interesting from Jason Schreier and what he had to say that's actually coming into fruition at this point, and a little bit more. But before we get into all that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get all of my Nintendo Switch 2 live streams and more first, as we're going to be dropping a ton of videos leading into the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 and all throughout the generation. So it's going to be a ton of fun right here on PlayerEssence. Now let's go ahead and jump right back into this, because I wanted to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer. It's been crazy overall. Nintendo Switch 2 first look trailer. On Nintendo's page, it's got nearly 16 million views. It's #1 on trending, and it's got nearly 1 million likes. It's got 93,000 comments, and I'm pretty sure it's going to have well over 100,000 comments before the end of the weekend. It's going to have over 1 million likes. It's definitely going to have maybe 20 million views by the end of the weekend. It's definitely putting up some crazy numbers here. So I essentially got curious and wanted to go back and look at some of the other system reveal trailers. So I compared it to the Xbox Series S and the Xbox Series X, and it's actually surpassed both of those individually. Now you have to put a little bit of an asterisk on there, because the Xbox Series X was announced at the Game Awards, so a lot of people saw it at the Game Awards when it was shown then, so there is that. But obviously not everybody watches that, and the trailer afterwards, that's going to be a big thing. But clearly it definitely does not have the same amount of views. So I was like, okay, yeah, obviously that's Xbox. Obviously Xbox isn't as popular overall. What about PlayStation? PlayStation is always pretty popular. It's always getting a ton of views, and I found this to be very interesting. The PS5 reveal trailer, that has 43 million plus views, and the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer has around 15-16 million. So it's going on about 40% of those views, or a little bit under at this point, but could be past that threshold by the end of the weekend, maybe even higher than that. So very interesting to get almost that many views as the reveal event for the PS5 trailer, which is going on 5 years ago. Obviously the Xbox Series S and X trailers were 5 years ago, or going on 5 years ago as well. So that's how crazy, just to put into perspective, not trying to say it's going to do way better than PlayStation 5 or whatever the case is, not trying to say that that means something like it's going to be the best selling system of all time or anything like that. I'm just trying to compare it in terms of people anticipating or hype or looking at something, and obviously it's way outpacing the original first look trailer that Nintendo had, which I think has already been removed from YouTube, but definitely outpacing that overall. Now there's definitely been concerns from other content creators that I am peers with, in addition to fans as well, and I'm always looking at it from all sides and angles, and I can absolutely understand some people being underwhelmed and saying, okay, well, they didn't show us a ton of games, or compared to what they did with the original Nintendo Switch trailer, and that's completely valid to have that opinion. However, it's also completely valid to have the opinion of like, hey, look, they just got the official announcement out there. It did away with some of the speculation and leaks, because not everybody, actually probably most people that are going to buy or play the Nintendo Switch did not know about the leaks, do not care about the leaks, and did not follow up on everything. So you get the official announcement out there for people. In addition to that, other third-party developers can start talking about things, which we're going to get into in my next thing with Mr. Jason Schreier. But it also goes into the, hey, okay, we've got a Nintendo Direct that's coming April 2nd. So if you're of the mindset that, hey, look, I'm okay with this first official trailer reveal, cool, it's all good, and then they let us know that, hey, the games are coming on April 2nd, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with being fine with that and being okay with them doing it that way. If you feel differently, there's nothing wrong with that too. There's not any type of like right or wrong way. Now you can argue on both sides and that's fine, but I don't think somebody is dumb or stupid or this or that for feeling one way or the other. But we know when the games are going to be announced. It's going to be announced on April 2nd. So get excited, get ready, or not get excited, or don't get ready. Who cares at this point? Like, do whatever you want overall. But what I'm saying is that feeling both ways is fine. And that's what makes gaming exciting. That's what makes I would say a community, or that's what makes the gaming industry fun, because you can kind of make your predictions and kind of say what you want to say, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see who's right or wrong overall at the end of the day. Then we can all kind of laugh about it or not or whatever. So that's kind of how I feel about it. So there definitely are strong opinions one way or another, but at the end of the day, we're going to all find out on April 2nd, which they let us know. I'm so happy that they did, because I think it maybe wouldn't have been as good, or I wouldn't have been as positive if they didn't let us know, okay, when are we going to see some of these games and all of that. But you also have to realize that not everybody looked at leaks, not everybody cares about leaks, and I don't think that companies should start pandering to leakers and start changing plans and start showing more things or going off script because of leakers. Like, hey, if you got a plan, stick to it. Like I said, have all of those toes down, 10 toes down, stick to what you want to do. And if you're confident in what your product brings to the market in terms of video games and what you have for release and price and all that, then stick to your plan. And when it happens, it happens. Don't worry about having to try to compensate for this and that and leakers, because then it's just going to start getting worse in the future. Sets a bad precedent, in my opinion, at least. So what do you guys think overall about the initial reveal and what's happening so far on social media with the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section. But I did want to get into this next topic, which I kind of foreshadowed a little bit, and that's why Nintendo even did this at this point. So we don't have any definitive answers. I still feel that Nintendo's following the Nintendo Switch 1 timeline, which is October to January. That was about 3 months in terms of the official trailer, and then the reveal of games in the presentation, and then 2 months after that they have the launch. So from January 2017 to March 2017, that was the launch. I think they're following that same timeline. January to April, that is 3 months, and then that's going to be obviously April, the games showcase, and then from April to probably June will be the launch. Now we have to wait and see on the launch, but I think they're following the same timeline. But Mr. Jason Schreier, which I talked about on my discussion with Nintendo Prime, he actually discussed this a little bit more, why Nintendo revealed this just like a simple trailer at first. And I found it to be very interesting, and people liked it on Twitter, so I wanted to go over it here. So Jason Schreier had this to say on Blue Sky, saying, "If you're wondering, one reason to randomly drop a Switch 2 teaser 2.5 months ahead of the proper reveal would be to allow third-party companies to start officially announcing their games for the system." So this is something that absolutely is a thing, because if you look at Twitter now, you have a bunch of developers that are now talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 officially. None of them want to say anything because obviously NDAs, they have dev kits and they don't want to talk about it or get Nintendo upset with certain things. But if you do the official announcement, they're now able to actually say, hey, we've got games coming. Now they can't go over certain internal specs and certain things like that, but they can say, hey, we've got games coming, or we like the system. They can officially acknowledge it, which we've already seen from big and small developers. So Ubisoft says that, hey, they're in love with it. So that pretty much confirms some of the rumors that Nate the Hate put out there, that there's going to be like a half dozen Ubisoft games, from Assassin's Creed Shadows to Mirage, in addition to probably other titles like The Division and Rainbow Six Siege, maybe other stuff, some ports. Prince of Persia maybe comes over, Rayman ports, Mario plus Rabbids. There's all sorts of things that Ubisoft could be doing for the Nintendo Switch 2. We've also got some indie developers that have stated, hey, look, we're going to put our games on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. If you guys remember the developer who did Ori and the Blind Forest and the Will of the Wisp, they have a new game called No Rest for the Wicked, and he actually talked about saying, hey, do you guys want to see No Rest for the Wicked on the Nintendo Switch 2, which kind of pissed off some of the people that are waiting for it on Xbox Series and on PlayStation, which he said, hey, look, we're still going to get it on there. We're still testing and doing things. It's still early access on PC. But yeah, obviously he doesn't want to miss out on the huge publicity of having the Nintendo Switch 2, which is going to be way more popular than the Xbox. Let's just keep it real at this point. But obviously you got to make sure that you take care of all the customers there. Obviously Ori was originally on the Xbox, so I get that. And PlayStation PlayStation, you want to put it on there. So I'm not saying that it's going to come there beforehand, but clearly he's going to take advantage of the publicity of the Nintendo Switch 2. And the most hilarious thing that I saw him say, when someone asks, do you think the Switch 2 can run it? Well, we'll make it run. And that is the best response to the people who say, oh, well, this can't run on this or it can't run on that. It's like, yo, if a developer wants to make something run, they will do what they can. He said, we will make it run on there. Completely awesome response, and pretty much what developers will do if they actually want their games on the Nintendo Switch 2. They will make it run on there one way or another, a la Witcher 3 developers on the Nintendo Switch 1. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely think what Jason Schreier had to say here was correct, because he actually said this right after the Nintendo Switch 2 was revealed, and then we started seeing developers actually do this. And Jason Schreier has a ton of inside connections, and he's been reporting on video gaming, and he's been writing books and all that. So you know he has the connections. You know people have told him this. Now, he did kind of phrase the tweet like, hey, this is just one reason, but I'm definitely thinking that some developers might have said something to him passively or just off the cuff or off the mark or something like that. So yeah, I do think that is happening. But yeah, we're starting to see it with major developers and also smaller developers as well. So very, very excited about that. And I think it's going to be fun to see what games come over to Nintendo Switch 2, because at the end of the day, you can talk about people saying that they wanted this or that or whatever, but at the end of the day, one of the biggest, I would say, complaints or problems with the Nintendo Switch was the power of the system. People complained about the frame rate, people complained about the joysticks, people complained about all sorts of stuff, and it looks like the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to fix all of those things and add a lot more. So hey, we're getting more of what people wanted at the end of the day, so that's good. So let's move on to the next topic here, guys, and I'm going to discuss what's going on with the Nintendo Switch 1, because I talked about there being a Nintendo Direct for February. Nate the Hate has hinted that that's probably going to happen. Now PH Brazil is coming out and saying that the Nintendo Direct that's coming up, not the April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, but a Nintendo Switch 1 Direct that's going to have a number of games. Now, in a previous video that I did, I talked about what games we could see there, from Fire Emblem 4 Remake, Kirby Planet Robobot, that Nate the Hate also talked about as well. But I think it also goes hand in hand with what's happening in Japan. That's the big thing that people aren't reporting on and people aren't talking about enough. I try to talk about it and incorporate it into all of my videos because I think that it's important to keep context overall about what is actually happening and why things are happening. People sometimes get on me and say, well, how do you know this will happen? How do you know that there's going to be X, Y, or Z Japanese support? I'm like, well, if you look at the market, sales and money dictate what happens in the market. And if you look at the Japanese market, it tells you everything that you need to know, because we've gotten another week of the Japanese sales for Famitsu from January 6th, 2025 to January 12th, 2025. And if you look at the top 30 games, 28 actually this time. There's 2 PlayStation 5 games. There's Freedom Wars in addition to Astrobot in the top 30. So the rest of them are all Nintendo Switch titles. If you look at the top 10, only Freedom Wars on the PlayStation 5 was able to even crack the top 10 games in terms of sales. And that was at 4,829, but the Nintendo Switch version sold better, obviously, because the Nintendo Switch has sold better. But if you just look at the sales overall, you can see the momentum and what's happening. You can see that that momentum is going to transfer directly to the Nintendo Switch 2. So I'll keep covering the Japanese sales and I'll keep talking about it because it's going to happen. Before in the past with Nintendo, they haven't had this type of kinetic like transfer. There's always been a long block where you would see PlayStation or you would see other type of titles in those top sales, especially from the Wii to the Wii U gen, and then from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch. You would see other systems in there, PlayStation, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 4, whatever the case was in between all those different gens. But this time, you're not seeing that. You're seeing essentially a domination of the Nintendo Switch, pretty much owning the domestic market at this point, and it's not really going anywhere. Even when people thought that it was going to fade and they were going to fade out and PlayStation 5 was going to take over because it has stuff like Monster Hunter and because it has some of the big Japanese games that are being announced like Final Fantasy and all that. Some people thought that Final Fantasy was going to be able to take over PlayStation in Japan, and that's just not happening. And that's the reason why I think that all these Japanese developers, Atlas, Square Enix, Nihon Falcom, all of these developers are going to be putting games on the Nintendo Switch 2 because of what we're seeing here. Because even in its 8th year on the market, the Nintendo Switch is still selling 57,000 units plus in Japan, 57,831 to be exact for that past week. And that's compared to only 11,828 units for the PlayStation 5. Now remember guys, this is not worldwide, this is just in Japan. So I'm talking about Japanese games. Now worldwide PS5 is doing incredible, but it's a little bit off pace compared to the PlayStation 4 and games. If you look at how games are selling, and because of PC and because of other markets, it's kind of taking chunks away from probably where PlayStation would have usually got sales before in the PS4 era. So I do think the developers are going to be relying upon the Nintendo Switch 2 to help when it comes to the overall health of the industry and getting more sales, even Western developers as well. So just like the Ori developers said, if something can't run on there, they'll make it run on there or do the best that they can overall, like we saw a little bit with the Nintendo Switch 1. But even here, if you look at the top 30, pretty much all Nintendo Switch titles, and I think that is going to transfer directly over to Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to see the Nintendo Switch 2 start off pretty strong, especially if Mario Kart is going to be a launch title for it. But even if you're looking at some of the titles here, stuff like Super Mario Party Jamboree is over 1 million units plus at this point. And we also have gotten word that the Nintendo Switch 1 is over 35 million units in Japan as well. So it's pretty crazy. It's the best selling system of all time, and it's only increasing its lead. So I would expect the Nintendo Switch to surpass the Nintendo DS when it comes to worldwide sales sometime this year and kind of encroach upon the PlayStation 2 for the best selling system of all time by early next year. I think it's going to start getting a little close early next year, but it really depends on what Nintendo does with the price. And if Nintendo slashes the price after the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, I definitely think that it could accelerate its game, because there's still going to be people who want to buy Nintendo Switch 1 for family or friends, and then maybe later they get a Nintendo Switch 2. So I do think that's going to be interesting to follow what Nintendo does after the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out. But that's going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.